My name is Paul Jervis. I'm the head of school for the School of Hospitality and Culinary Arts at Westminster Kingsway College. And I've been asked to just give a little bit of a presentation this afternoon with regards to the work that we do with working with industry. So what I'm going to do is walk you through how we do things. Okay, so let me make sure my screen share is set up correctly. Okay. So essentially what I'm going to do is just go through how we manage things. I think it's important right at the start of this just to be clear that anyone that we miss out and the list, any kind of business partners that we list and things is not an exhaustive list. And we wouldn't really be able to name all of them because we do work with an awful lot of business partners and we're exceptionally grateful to all of the support they give us. But firstly, I think it's important essentially that we acknowledge the college itself. So a little bit about the background to us and our heritage. So Westminster Kingsway College was the first professional culinary school within the UK to be established. So it dates back to the late 1800s. And it was set up by three very important people within the hospitality industry at the time. So there's the gentleman, Auguste Escoffier, who was he was responsible for the structure of kitchens, for the codifying of a lot of recipes and the hierarchy within kitchens. And he was known as the King of Chefs and the Chef of Kings. So he was very much involved in structuring and making sure that students were being taught in a consistent manner to meet the needs of the industry. There was then also Cesar Ritz, so you'd recognise the surname from the Ritz Hotel, and he was a hotelier. They worked together at the Carlton Ritz Hotel, had a good, strong working relationship. And then there was a lady called Baroness Burdett Coutts, who was essentially the money behind the operation. So Coutts Bank, which is still running today, she was the wealthiest woman in the country at the time, but was also very interested in food and hospitality and was involved in what was equivalent of today's Craft Guild of Chefs, if you like. And what they recognised was that there was a need to start training people. So they built our college, they built a primary school and a church all as one collective group. The primary school and the church are no longer part of us, but we do keep relationships with them, and we use the school and the church for our graduation ceremonies. But essentially what they were looking at was, in order to train students to go into industry and have relevant skills, and essentially what we're about over 130 odd years later is exactly the same as what it's always been. We're very much making sure that our learners have the skills that they need in order to go and have a successful career within the industry. The first kind of part that we would start with is our Young Chef and Young Bakers Academies. So from a learner's perspective, the partnership with industry, albeit they may not know it too much at that stage, is we run short 5-week Saturday courses. So we run a Young Chefs one and a Young Bakers one as two separate courses. And they're taught by members of the teaching team, but also involved within that. So one of the teachers on the Young Chef courses is still an industry chef. So he works out in industry and comes in on a Saturday, and he's part of our payroll system and things. But what that runs on is a 5-week program that teaches industry skills that are relevant, and this is designed for 13 to 15-year-olds. So in kind of new money terms, that would be the school years 9 to 11. And over those 5 weeks, they're going to learn specialist skills, techniques. So that will include filleting fish, butchery of chicken, things that on an older level are specialist skills. So we're getting this as an introductory course and actually giving them a chance to learn some really high-end skills from a very early age. And on the 5th week, what they do is they produce a graduation lunch, and they invite their families in and produce a 3-course meal held at the college, and a big celebration just to recognise what they learn over those 5 weeks. And it's utterly incredible what this age group is capable of producing. So within 5 weeks, they're learning teamwork, they're learning really high-end skills, but also industry is embedded within this as well. So we have Harrison's Catering are a group, and along with the Savoy Education Trust, they sponsor these courses. So they invest financially into this. They recognise how important it is for youngsters to experience the hospitality industry from a young age before the formal kind of courses start. And that allows us to be able to sell these events at an affordable level. So it takes out the need for what would essentially be quite an expensive course. We can suddenly turn it into a 5-week program, which is very affordable for families to come in and send their sons, daughters, or whatever into it. And what we find is that is a huge feeder into our main courses. So the full-time courses and the part-time courses that we run, it's currently running that about 60% of the students who do one of these short, young courses turn into a full-time student somewhere along the lines. And it's also then noticeable how much they then progress within that full-time course as well. So we then track those students who have completed these short courses in terms of when they come in and they interview, they have a lot more confidence, but also their initial skills within the kitchen from an early age or an early start to their main program. You can see the ones who have already had experiences of this, and they build their confidence through that. And then and these are just some of the pictures of the type of food. So again, these are 13 to 15-year-olds producing these kind of dishes, some of these for our graduation lunches. So there's some really impressive high-end skills that they're learning at that stage. And then the students who come onto the full-time course, every single learner who comes onto one of our programs has an opportunity to go out onto a work placement each year. And for all of these students, it will be at least 4 weeks, if not longer. And at the college, we've got very strong industry links. Many of the establishments that we use have got past students working there. And for us, that's fundamentally important because we can support them or continue to support them even though they've moved on and gone out into industry. But also because they've been students in the position of the incoming interns, then they have a really good understanding. They can relate to them very strongly, and they can also offer a really well-structured, authentic experience. We're very, very keen that when our students go in there, they're not just another pair of hands and you can give them the kind of low-end jobs of picking leaves and things like that. We want them to actually go in and experience the industry and come away with some really high-end skills that they can then adapt and build on. And we use different sectors of the market throughout each year. So the main program is designed across a 3-year program. So they will do a level 1, level 2, and then level 3. And we use a different sector across each year so that when our learners complete their time with us, they've experienced different areas of the market. And that's really important in terms of them knowing what kind of establishment they want to go and work in at the end of it. Sometimes they'll come away from a work experience and say that they've had a dreadful time, they didn't enjoy it. But actually, once you unpack that, then you can turn and say, but that's a really positive experience from your perspective, because now it shows that you don't want to work in that arena. And that's just as valuable as getting a positive experience that says, yeah, I'm really inspired and that's what I want to do. So within the first year, we tend to use contract catering establishments. We tend to find that these are calmer, slightly bigger kitchens, and that's essentially very good for an introduction for our youngsters. So they're on the whole going to be 16 years old and coming their first time into a external professional kitchen. It's a safer, calmer environment. but it also gives them an understanding of what contract catering means, because to a lot of people that is schools and hospitals and things like that, and absolutely that's a fundamental part of the hospitality industry, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's the only aspect of it. So we use blue chip companies, we use some banking institutes, so they're going in and working with some very professional areas, doing areas of hospitality and things like that. In the second year, we tend to use private members clubs and small boutique hotels and independent restaurants, so they get a very different experience. And then our students, in the third year of the course, they choose a specialism. So for 2 years of the program, they've done a little bit of everything. They've done kitchen-based work, they've done pastry-based work, and they've done restaurant service work. And then in the third year, they choose one of these areas to specialize. So what we would then do is tailor their placements to meet the needs of where it is they're likely to end up once they graduate with us. So the pastry and the front of house students tend to focus on the 5-star hotels. So the kind of examples that we work with, we've worked with the Buckingham Palace, we've worked with the Ritz, we've worked with the Conrad St. James Hotel. And then on the kitchen side of things, we tend to move towards the West End fine dining restaurant scene. And we've used Michelin-starred restaurants in the past. But again, we try as much as possible to use job placements where we have alumni based, just because it gives us that really strong positive relationship. And in a lot of cases, we've used these placements for a number of years. Off the back of that, we then also invite our work experience placement chefs into the college, and they work as guest judges in their final end of year exams. And for us, having industry present at those exams just it just completes the loop for us in terms of industry come in, they oversee the practical exams, they have a complete understanding of what it is that the students are being assessed against, they see what skills and techniques they're using, and they can indicate that they've got an understanding of what level that these students are working at and what their capabilities are. And it also ensures that the grades that these students are being given are very reflective of what the industry's current expectations are. So it's not just us as teaching team saying that's a merit or that's a distinction, but it's industry coming in and actually saying, from a perspective of this is a commis chef level, their skills are above what would be seen within the industry. And essentially, industry has a voice into us developing and enhancing our curriculum intent. So the teaching team actually go well beyond the level of the needs of the qualification. So that the way that we build our curriculum ensures that we go much bigger, much wider, that the type of skills that we're teaching are up to date, that the current food trends of the market today are being met and are being measured. And again, this is going to show some of the type of places that we work with. Again, these lists are certainly not exhaustive, but they are, in a lot of cases, some of these we've used for many, many years, and they're incredible supporters. And off the back of that, what a lot of students will do is they will be offered jobs. So they'll come in, they may do a 4-week work placement in one of these places, and then industry will turn around and they'll go, at the end, when you graduate, there's a job waiting for you. And what we end up with is the students have a guaranteed destination at the end of this. We have some students who will go off and they will go into higher education, so the degree level work, and we have a provision for that at the college. But the vast majority are looking to go into a career within the industry, and they all end up being offered jobs. So it's a very exciting way of doing things. So the next bit we've got is on sponsors and business partners. So essentially at the college, industry is involved on a daily basis at the college. It's not something that we do in pockets or in little sessions. It's absolutely woven through the whole thing. So we've got an incredible amount of business partners and sponsors who allow essentially our learners to have a wide-ranging experience. Now it's obvious that education funding, certainly in the FE sector, has diminished over the years. And one of the ways that we really combat to make sure that our students get a really rich and wide and varied curriculum is through our sponsorship. So over the last 10 years, we've grown this massively. I have a dedicated member of staff who spends an awful lot of their working time above and beyond their teaching hours working on these relationships. And there's far too many partners for us to mention here, but what it allows us is that the engagement and the personal relationships that we build are really strong. And for me, the crucial factor in having this as a successful model is that we almost don't have a model. So we discuss, we present the college, we sit down, we spend time with a new business partner, and we showcase what we're about and what we deliver so that they have a good understanding. But then we also then talk to them and say, what is of value to you? What do you want to gain out of this? And how can we help you as well? And for some businesses, that's going to be a financial support. So they may donate money, they may donate some time, they may donate commodities and equipment. And it's very much on an individual basis that we work on this. And in return, what we can offer them is hospitality. So we have 2 public restaurants at the college, and we can say, come and bring some of your clients. We'll give you a table in our restaurants. And again, that helps showcase what we're about. And it may be that I've lost my train of thought. Forgive me on that one. But for others, it may be that they want some training. So we've in the past we've brought some of their chefs into our industry, and we've actually given them bespoke training to meet their needs. And essentially, it's just about building that relationship. And for many of them, it's about having that conduit to the next generation of chefs as their goal. And chefs are very much creatures of habit. They trust products that they know. And if a student spends 3 years with us and they're using certain pieces of equipment or ingredients, then when they go out into industry, they will trust that. And they may not have buying power initially, but what we find within 2 to 3 years, they've got established within a kitchen, and they may turn around to their chef and say, oh, at college we use this, that and the other. And so it's very much a medium-term vision rather than a short-term quick result, but it is hugely effective. And the businesses turn around to us and say, for the amount of money that we're investing into you, if it was just an advert, it might hit the wrong area, it might not hit the right people. And it's definitely about getting chefs to understand, and relationships. Certainly these days, what we're finding more and more is learners want to know their value and what they're going to bring in return for this. And each year what we do is we hold a sponsors lunch, and we bring in the business partners together. In the last event that we held, which was obviously before lockdown, we had somewhere in the region of about 160 people coming together at the college, sitting down together, and then they're networking their businesses as well. And these slides just show some of the companies that we are with, like I said, on many that we've worked for many years. So companies such as Calabo are a chocolate company, and they donate product to us. So we have a bespoke chocolate room at the college, which is the most amazing place that you're going to find. And they donate an awful lot of chocolate to us, and then once we've kind of gone beyond that established amount, they will then sell it at cost price to us, and students then have the ability to work with high-end products. But yes, again, so the list doesn't go, but what you'll also notice is it's not just food-based companies, but there are things like the embassies. So we've done work in the past with the American Embassy, with the Royal Thai Embassy, and they've been involved in our setting up of our menus, that they've introduced ingredients to us, and they've come in and they've taught our students alongside us about some of the techniques and some of the ingredients that they use, and then we promote them on our restaurants, and then they will come in and they will dine in their restaurants with their clients and see their ingredients come to life. And then there's competitions. So chefs by their nature tend to be very competitive. So whether it's against someone else or just against themselves, they set themselves benchmarks often. And what you'll find is we want to challenge and we want to push ourselves naturally. And over the years, students from Westminster Kingsway College have been involved in local, in national, and international competitions. And that could be anywhere in the world. So, and what we find is competitions test the students as well as the staff, because we also have staff who enter competitions individually at times. But we also then have industry acting as mentors within that as well. So a student might go on work placement knowing that they've got a competition coming up, and they talk to their chefs while they're there and they're talking about their dishes. And often these companies will turn around and say, do you know what? Let's get some of these ingredients in. We'll let you practice this, and we can do it in within their time out on placement. It's brilliant because competitors suddenly have to work in unfamiliar settings. They may have to use equipment that they've never used before, and it teaches them to rely on their skills and their instincts. And that's something you can't replicate in any other way. And so the industry comes into that. We hold each year a fundraising dinner at the college, and the design of this is that we raise money purely for this competition fund. So it's all about making sure that students don't have to raise their own money independently in order to go on a competition, because there will be entrance fees, there will be transportation costs, there may well be overnight stays. We had approximately 18 months ago a student go out and represent the United Kingdom or certainly England at a competition called the Young Chef Olympiad in India. And that was 10 days out in industry or out in India, competing against other students, and they came back with a bronze medal. And we ensured that student individually did not have to foot the bill of that. So industry donate prizes, they donate auctions and raffles in order for us to raise the funds to make sure that there is a complete equal opportunity for students to be able to enter on this. And some of our partners as well, one of the agreements that we may have in place is they may donate product, and we say we're going to build a competition around that. So a good example is a company called Marriages Flowers, who are based in Chelmsford, and they've donated flour to the college to use on a daily basis as part of their agreement. And what we did was we organised a competition using their products. It was an in-house competition using our students who had to showcase their products, and then we invite the press in and do releases and capture the event, and everyone's a winner because our students get to do a competition, they're getting to use high-end products that are entirely affordable for us, but the businesses also then get this promotion about what sort of things they can use their products for. And then I'm just going to check on how I'm doing for time. I'm slightly running over, but there's some pictures of the type of competitions that we've held at the college. We've also done chef forums. So during the lockdown, and we couldn't possibly talk about education at the moment unless we move into what the effect of the pandemic has held on us. And essentially, we are a very practical based course. So to switch onto an online model was very difficult, but again, the team really bought in, and our alumni and our industry partners and sponsors and things like that have been absolutely amazing during lockdown. And one of the things that we did was set up chef forums. So once a week, we had guest chefs coming in and discussing topics and interacting with students, and to be able to tell them their own personal journey about what they've experienced. And we've had chefs from Raymond Blanc's Manoir Quatre Saisons, and some incredible, talented, high industry chefs coming in and just being able to talk about their own personal story. We also did social cook-alongs. So even though people were held at home, we connected online and we did social cook-alongs. And again, we used our partners and our sponsors. And in fact, we did this almost on an international level. So there was one event we held where we did an international link to Nigeria. So, again, it's developing the staff as much as the students. And in terms of the future, because we're now coming, hopefully, outside, back into some level of normality, we do need to pick up and rebuild many of these relationships. So what we're doing, again, is very much on an individual level, is bringing these relationships back in and establishing whether they're still in a position to support and reevaluate how it's going to work. It takes an awful lot of work to do this, but it's so much value and so much richness that this sort of relationship brings. It has to have the involvement of the staff. It can't be down to one or two people, but it offers so much to the curriculum and the wider learning for the students that us as a college, we will be utterly lost without the support. So we do need to recognise and thank our sponsors within that. So essentially, that's the nutshell of it. I often talk for far longer than I should on these sort of things. So I'm going to hand over to questions and find out how it works. So one of the questions we had was, do your local employers have a preference for recruiting young people from your full-time rather than offering an apprenticeship? No, we're very much about having the right thing at the right time. So what we understand on a student individual level is some people are going to be suited to apprenticeships, others are not quite ready to go out into that world of work yet and having a full-time course. And there are positives and negatives from both sides. And it's very much about being able to offer a flexible approach at the right time. So even on our full-time courses, they're not set in stone for 3 years. They have the opportunity at the end of each year to reevaluate, reassess, and if their conditions have changed and the way that they want to learn has changed, then there's a flexibility within that they could then sidestep across onto an apprenticeship model and pick that up. Obviously, over the last 12 months, apprenticeships have been pretty tough because the industry has been in lockdown. What we're noticing now coming out the other side is there's a huge skills gap, and apprenticeships, we're absolutely promoting that moving forward. So another question, let me just read this. So where all the parts of the qualification were practical, needed face-to-face delivery, how did the college change delivery and how much employer input was involved in the process? So essentially what we had to do at the college was we were lucky that we were managing to open our restaurants between the start of the course in September and December, and then we went into lockdown, and then the college's restaurants have remained shut since then. And what we did was we utilised and went into emergency timetable to ensure that the learners had the time to achieve. We were not under any tag process, so no teacher assessed grades. We had to make sure every single assessment was done within college to meet the needs of the awarding body. And employers have still come back in and they've still helped with that. So whether it's online support, and we are currently running practical exams this week, and we're still getting employers coming in and judging alongside us within that. So there's still, even in spite of the restaurants starting to reopen and them being incredibly busy, they're still involved in coming in on a daily basis to support us. So it's been tough, but we've still had some great support. Okay, so it says about us looking like we've got high-end resources, ingredients, kitchens and restaurants to instill skills in our trainees. So why do we take our students to the workplace? I mean, essentially it's about giving the breadth to students. It's very much about that we give a really good, realistic work experience at the college, but the reality is it's never going to fully replicate what industry is about. So we've got a lot of students. I take 130 first years in on a level 1 each year. So it's a big course. And our restaurants, we've got 2 different ones. We have a brasserie style, which will do anywhere between 30 and 150 people on a service. And we have a fine dining restaurant, which will do a maximum of 34 in a smaller exclusive room. But within those kitchens, you might have 16 students working. And the reality is, for making a brasserie lunch for 40 people, you're not going to have 16 chefs doing that out in industry. So to send them out, it gives them a really good experience, but it also puts them into the reality of what it's about. So college is still fairly safe. We're pushing them, that we're developing them, but it cannot mirror exactly what industry is about. So for us, sending them out into workplace is absolutely crucial. So what main suggestion would you make to secondary schools about what they could build into their approach to preparing youngsters for work? It's very much on an individual basis for me. I think the education system, it can be at times a little bit guilty of a one-size-fits-all approach. And preparing youngsters for work is about sitting down and talking to them, finding out what excites them and what interests them, but also giving them a chance to essentially find out what it is that they want to be getting out of this. And for us, it's very much on an individual level. Secondary schools, they do an amazing work. I've actually gone back into secondary schools and supported through technology classes and things like that. And for me, it's about them opening the doors as much as possible in terms of giving opportunities for industry to come in and actually have a say into some individual classes. Okay, I think that's pretty much most of the questions answered. I hope I've answered, and I hope it's helped you all. But thank you very much for your time.